All right, we'll go ahead and get started then. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this year's first pollution prevention webinar entitled Advanced Energy and How It Is Helping Bridgestone Meet Its Sustainability Goals. This webinar is being put on by the Tennessee Green Star Partnership Program in collaboration with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council, and Bridgestone Americas. My name is Caleb Powell, and I'm an environmental scientist for the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices here at TDEC, and I'll be hosting the webinar today for our wonderful speakers. So everyone is muted upon entry to reduce the amount of background noise, but if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to ask those in the chat box, and I will work on getting those answered. There's also, if you look in the participants little box, you can see there's a little hand that you can, it's a little emoji. So feel free if you'd like to, once we get to the question and answer section of the presentation, if you would like to actually ask your question yourself instead of having me read it from the chat box, then just hit that little emoji. I will be checking, and I can unmute you and have you or ask your question yourself. I'm going to go ahead and send a chat in the chat box to everyone so you can sort of see where that is if you don't already know where that is. So as questions come up, please feel free to send those to me. And there is a little drop-down box that you can choose host or all participants or all panelists. Just make sure that at least the host or one of the all choices is chosen, so that at least myself will be able to get that and write those down and ask our speakers. So to give an overview of what's going to be covered today, the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council champions advanced energy as a job creation and economic development strategy. They educate public officials and business leaders about Tennessee's advanced energy assets, establish strategic partnerships to connect assets with opportunities, and inform policy that expands and strengthens the industry. TAEBC will be present on how they work to understand the advanced energy sector's priorities, and that's manufacturers, installers, researchers, entrepreneurs, professional service providers, and companies that are end users of advanced energy technologies. And then they share information about the value of this sector with public and private sector leaders. And then also develop programs that connect and leverage our state's assets with opportunities to promote Tennessee's advanced energy economy. Bridgestone is also joining us and will be presenting on their sustainability initiatives and how being a part of TAEBC has helped them achieve their goals. So I would like to introduce our first speaker. Courtney Piper is the Executive Director of the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council, an organization, like I said, that champions advanced energy as an economic development and job creation strategy. According to the last report, the advanced energy sector includes more than 20,000 businesses that employ upwards of 390,000 Tennesseans. She's also the president of Piper Communications, a public relations firm that specializes in clean energy, and the Knoxville ABC affiliate, a public affairs commentator, appearing weekly on Tennessee this week and provides commentary on current news and events. So we're very excited to have Courtney here to talk a little bit about TAEBC, and I will pass it on over to you, Courtney.
Okay, thank you, Caleb. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if we can do this. All right, does everybody see my PowerPoint screen?
Yes, it just might need to be, yes, perfect.
There we go. Okay. Well, Caleb, thanks again, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Courtney Piper, and I am pleased to share with you a little bit more about the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council this afternoon. Like Caleb said, we are the state's champion for advanced energy, and our organization is a little unique in that when we formed, our board was very specific and particular about our definition of advanced energy, which is technology neutral. So anything that makes energy cleaner, safer, more secure, or more efficient is in the tent. And we have a lot of really great information to share with you today about the breadth and depth of Tennessee's advanced energy economy. So what I'm going to do today is tell you a little bit more about the organization, what we do, and how we connect the advanced energy industry to help turn corporate sustainability into economic development opportunities and jobs. So between last year and this year, we welcomed 4 new board members into the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council. I always like to say we lost 2020 due to COVID, so it's kind of like the lost year. But we welcomed representatives from Volkswagen, Schneider Electric, Wacker, and Bridgestone, a new representative from Bridgestone to our board of directors. And you'll hear from Nick a little bit later about what Bridgestone is doing. On here. Okay, just a couple of highlights, industry highlights, to give you all an example of the industries that we represent, put a little bit more tangibility to advanced energy. Last year, 2 years ago, Governor Lee and Commissioner Bob Rolfe proclaimed that they wanted Tennessee to be the #1 state in the country for the electric vehicle supply chain. And you know, they are doing it. This goal was really capped off last year with the announcement of Ford's Blue Oval City. And before that, we heard about TVA and TDEC partnering to form a fast charging network. And then on top of that, we had announcements from the other 3 OEMs about either battery technology, manufacturing components, or electric vehicle assembly that was going to be happening in the state. So now the state of Tennessee is home to 4 automotive OEMs, Ford, Volkswagen, GM, and Nissan, that are either manufacturing batteries and or electric vehicle assembly in the state of Tennessee. Also, we heard from Novonix in Chattanooga, which will be manufacturing batteries. So, you know, again, hats off to Governor Lee and Commissioner Rolfe for setting a very bold and ambitious goal and really relying on the state of Tennessee's assets and the existing strength of our industry to cap it off. Some of our member highlights last year, you all might be familiar with Silicon Ranch. Matt Kisbert is on our board, and he was an integral part of launching the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council back in 2014. They hit a major fundraising goal last year. So in mid-December, the company closed a $225 million equity raise, the second biggest round of solar investment in the world last year, and Silicon Ranch's investors valued the business at more than $1 billion. And if any of you all are familiar with the entrepreneurial innovation scene, that $1 billion valuation officially reaches what people in the industry call unicorn status. So we are very proud to count them as a member. Next up, 3 of our members joined together for a new research collaboration. Volkswagen Group of America has their innovation hub in Knoxville at the University of Tennessee Research Park, and they partnered again with the University of Tennessee Knoxville and Oak Ridge National Laboratory to expand that collaboration that will support electric mobility and sustainable transportation. The first project involves testing Oak Ridge National Lab's new high-power wireless EV charging concepts with a Porsche. So again, something else that is building off of Governor Lee and Commissioner Rolfe's goal for making Tennessee the #1 state in the country for the electric vehicle supply chain. Lots of innovation and research and development happening here as part of that supply chain. Also, one of our member companies that started out in a program that we have called the Energy Mentor Network, Stone Mountain Technologies. These folks are in Upper East Tennessee. They announced a major funding announcement last year, a $4 million Canadian dollar investment in their company. And for those folks that are not familiar with Stone Mountain Technologies, this investment will help Stone Mountain Technologies in the final steps towards making the market release of its thermally driven heat pump technology. It is a simple and direct replacement for furnaces, boilers, and water heaters. It's also known as gas absorption heat pumps, and they are the most rapid and economically practical method to reducing the carbon footprint in residential and small and medium-sized commercial buildings. So a lot of really great things going on in Upper East Tennessee with Stone Mountain Technologies. They are also partnered with TDEC's Office of Energy Programs on a demonstration project that I'm sure we will be hearing more about in the coming years. Okay, and then looking back last year at some of our top accomplishments. So one of the things that the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council does is we like to inform the national energy agenda. The breadth and depth of Tennessee's advanced energy economy is so broad that we feel like we're in a very good position to do this. So we regularly host officials from the Department of Energy at our annual events and our events in general. Last year, Vanessa Chan, who is the U.S. Department of Energy's Chief Commercialization Officer and the Director of the Office of Technology Transitions, spoke at our annual meeting. And in March, TAEBC signed on to an updated $150 billion stimulus proposal that was spearheaded by the Transportation Electrification Partnership. And that coalition you'll see is represented by organizations and states with these red dots. And I'm pleased to say that recommendations in that stimulus package were later adopted as part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill that did pass. And there were a lot of critical investments in things like electric vehicle charging and also some other things related to technology, commercialization, and demonstration. Another thing that we do at the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council is support TVA and our local power companies. How this is relevant to you all is you might have heard on February of 2020, TVA released something called the flexibility option, which gives local power companies the ability to own or procure 5% of their average daily demand. So they can do things like help companies in their territories meet their corporate sustainability goals. They can be more of a partner with you all. So we hosted a virtual lunch and learn with TVA's CEO, Jeff Lyash, and he spoke about a range of efforts at TVA, all the way from the flexibility option to electric vehicle strategy, as well as some strategy and goals related to their nuclear fleet. And then we hosted an Advanced Energy 101 for local power companies, and there we featured the head of the Paris Board of Public Utilities, Terry Wimberly, who is pictured here. And after that appearance, he penned a guest column for our blog about why local power companies should pursue flexibility projects and what they should know. And one of the main things that he hit on in the virtual event that he did for us is that these flexibility projects, which are typically solar with a combination of solar and storage, is that they can help companies in their territory meet their corporate sustainability goals, renewable energy goals, whatever you want to call them. Your local power companies are now in a better position to partner with you. Another one of our action items and commitments to our members is to help make Tennessee the #1 location in the Southeast for high quality jobs. Last year, because Commissioner Rolfe and Governor Lee made that bold goal related to electric vehicle supply chain, we gave Commissioner Rolfe the TAEBC 2021 Thomas B. Ballard Advanced Energy Leadership Award at our annual meeting, and he has not disappointed. He continues to make great strides in attracting more and more companies to the state of Tennessee in the electric vehicle supply chain. Also, throughout the year, we held a series of statewide roundtables to help build a cohesive statewide network for the electric vehicle supply chain. And we also hosted a statewide incentives webinar where we had guest speakers talk about various incentives at a state and federal level that are available to companies like yours to help you deploy advanced energy technologies. Also last year, we released our Tennessee Advanced Energy Economic Impact Report. This is something that we do every 3 years. And you all will be happy to know that there is no shortage of companies in the state that can help you meet corporate sustainability or renewable energy goals. As a matter of fact, there are more than 20 businesses in Tennessee's advanced energy economy. They employ nearly 394,000 people, and they contribute nearly $46 billion to our state's GDP. And as a matter of fact, advanced energy outpaces the growth of Tennessee's overall state economy. So a very broad, robust, and growing industry for the state. Another thing that we do at the Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council, because it is critical to the industry, is support Tennessee's advanced energy technologies and startups. And we do this in partnership with Launch Tennessee with a program called the Energy Mentor Network. where we take energy entrepreneurs and their early stage companies and we provide them very specific industry mentoring related to their company in a very milestone-based program. So it's not limited to, you all have heard things related to, there's a 2-month program or a 3-month program. This is a milestone-based program where we help companies develop their business model and their business case. And so typically what this can mean for companies like you all is you can learn about the latest and greatest technologies. And also a lot of these companies just need to talk to customers, and they need to talk to potential customers to see if what they think their business case is actually a business case for a potential customer. And you all can rest easy knowing that all of the companies, all of the startups in this program have gone through considerable vetting. Not only do we have a very robust vetting process, but we work with a lot of startups that are in Oak Ridge National Lab's Innovation Crossroads program, or they're at the UT Research Park Spark Innovation Center. Or they receive things like SBIR grants from the Department of Energy. So these companies have gone through extraordinary scrutiny. And so if they do need to do any kind of customer discovery or something of that nature, you can rest assured that they are well vetted, and it could be a great discussion with them. Looking forward, what's next for this year? We want to continue the momentum to create a cohesive statewide network for the electric vehicle supply chain. Just a couple of weeks ago, I believe, Tritium announced that they were building a manufacturing facility for their chargers in Middle Tennessee. So again, this just continues to add to the momentum that we have for building out the electric vehicle supply chain in Tennessee. And we know that the Blue Oval City is projected to break ground in March. That will bring 3,700 auto-related jobs to Tennessee. Clean Tech Accelerators in Tennessee. I am pleased to inform you all that Tennessee is home to 3 very prominent clean tech accelerators. The newest one is the Spark Clean Tech Accelerator. This is also supported by the Department of Energy and the state of Tennessee through Launch Tennessee, as well as TVA. This will be housed at the University of Tennessee Research Park in Knoxville. They will welcome their first cohort in June of this year. Innovation Crossroads, which is at Oak Ridge National Lab, this has been around for a number of years. They are going to welcome a new cohort this year. And finally, brand new to the Tennessee region, the Tennessee area, is Techstars. They have an Industries of the Future accelerator that just kicked off a little while ago, a couple of days ago, where they are hosting industries of the future that have a bend towards clean tech and clean energy. So Tennessee is becoming a hub for innovation, especially clean tech innovation, and we are pleased to be involved with these clean tech accelerators and sharing their stories and the good news and the companies that are participating with them, and helping connect them to potential customers so they can do customer discovery, or just the larger Tennessee community so they can feel more connected to us and continue to grow their business in the state of Tennessee. Also, connecting Tennessee's advanced energy industry. We, during our annual meeting last year, had a featured panel called How to Meet Corporate ESG Goals, and we featured folks from who are part of the Tennessee Green Star Partnership from Tensco and Clayton Homes talk about how they used advanced energy to meet their corporate sustainability goals. And that panel was moderated by our board member, Steve Seifried, with Amoresco, and that was a fantastic discussion. Again, where we're coming from is the more and more we can share information about what companies are doing to meet corporate ESG goals, to meet corporate sustainability goals, renewable energy goals, energy efficiency goals. The more that we can share that information, the more commonplace that this will become, and the more folks know what exists within the state of Tennessee, we can keep that economic benefit in the state of Tennessee. And again, our Advanced Energy 101, talking about TVA's flexibility option, which gives local power companies more flexibility in terms of what kind of assets they will procure or own themselves. which is helping to deploy more solar in particular. And of course, one of our newest members, Sky Nanotechnologies, Anna Douglas pictured here, was also a graduate of our Energy Mentor Network. And she announced in January, I believe it was, that they were able to produce carbon nanotubes from flue gas captured by TVA's John Sevier Combined Cycle plant. And this is the first time flue gas has ever been captured and then turned into a valuable product. And for those of you that don't know, carbon nanotubes help improve electrical properties and things like batteries, and they're also used to strengthen products like wind turbines, boat hulls, sporting goods, tennis rackets, baseball bats, and they're also used in things like tire and inks. And that's all I have about our organization and how we connect the advanced energy industry to each other and help share the good news. So I've got Q&A here on my slide, but I know that Nick is going next. So I will stop sharing my screen and turn it back to Caleb. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. And I have a couple questions, but what we'll do is we'll wait till the end. So maybe if there's maybe an answer that Nick might talk about, then that might answer the questions. But what I'll do is I'll sort of keep all those and keep sending in your questions if you have those, and I will make sure to ask those at the end for our little Q&A time. So what we'll do now is we will pass it right over to Nick. See, I guess I need to tell who Nick is. Nick is the Director of Environmental Affairs at Bridgestone Americas, and he's been with them for 27 years of environmental and automotive manufacturing experience. As a member of BSAM, the EHSS organization, Nick is responsible to provide environmental leadership by designing, developing, and executing organizational strategies for excellence in environmental compliance, performance, and reputation. Nick works closely with stakeholders to drive environmental teamwork and tools across Bridgestone's global presence through collaboration to develop strategically appropriate standards, methodology, and communications. So, Nick, the floor is yours, and I'm going to give you the
Thanks, Caleb, and then I'll take the ball, and I think I can just go through. Again, thanks very much for the invitation for this, and appreciate those that get called on to listen to some of Bridgestone's strategic sustainability efforts. It's certainly something that's not individual to to businesses. It needs to be broadened, and we need to share as much as possible if we're going to be able to make some of these goals work. And I think most feel that for sure. So without further, we'll get going. So looking at our Tennessee footprint, Bridgestone has quite a footprint in the state of Tennessee, from manufacturing operations to distribution centers, and also we operate 71 Firestone Complete Auto Care stores in the state. So mostly centered around Middle Tennessee, but you can also see that we also have a presence out west. For Bridgestone, really with us, is it starts with our environmental mission, and to help ensure a healthy environment for current and future generations. And there's really three key objectives that we look at, and it's being in harmony with nature, valuing our natural resources, and reducing CO2 and other greenhouse gases, but right now primarily the focus on CO2. And we operate internally as part of our business plan what we call our North Star framework. And what I like about the North Star framework is it has three major buckets, as you can see: foundations, vision, business, and team. And clearly the company set that, our environmental mission has to be part of our foundation and is part of our foundation. Obviously it falls in other areas, but also very strong lately in our business. So as we look at mobility solutions, sustainability is part of our strategy that makes us different from others, and also being a sustainable solutions company is what our leadership has really pointed us to. Our milestones, so what we call Milestone 2030. We closed out 2020 we've announced 2030, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but really looking at that long-term vision to get to 2050. 100% sustainable material by 2050, and then we really want to contribute to a globally agreed target and be carbon neutral by 2050 is the absolute goal. And really, it's like I said, teamwork and being a part of a sustainable society. So in 2020 was the first year that we launched our 2030 milestone, or Milestone 2030. It's really our initiatives for achieving long-term targets in balance with those 3 objectives within our mission statement. So very simply, water stewardship across the globe. Increased our recycling and renewable material ratio to 40%. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a big effort to get that in there and continue to focus on circularity. And then CO2 emissions, and I'll focus a little bit on each of these as we go through and give some examples. But we want to reduce our emissions from Scope 1 and Scope 2 by 50% by 2030. And then we also have a Scope 3 target, which is 5 times our Scope 1 and 2 based on our 2020 baseline. So continuing to evolve, continuing to work, and a substantial amount of operation goes into making these happen. Just to kind of talk a little about what we do. So internally, back in 2007, far before I've got here, we've been operating what we call our Bridgestone Americas Energy and Environment Strategic Fund. And it really helps plants and our operations reduce CO2 water usage and mostly CO2. And really it's energy, but we talk a lot specific to direct carbon. We've had over 272 projects, capital. A lot of the reductions, especially in the Scope 1 area, require capital to make this happen. We obviously see savings from this. The payback is very good on average. But to me, the big win is, look at almost 240 million gallons of water saved, 191,000 tons of CO2 also saved as well from being emitted. A couple of things that we do, like Aiken, South Carolina, we put in at our off-road facility, rain harvesting. So the rain harvesting design capacity of 100 gallons a minute, saving about 4.4 million gallons per year of water, obviously depending on the rain season. But year to date, we've gotten about 37, almost 40 millions of gallons of water saved total, and that we reuse in our process. You can kind of see from the diagram there, dating back to 2015 as an example, okay? CO2 reduction also supported by our Bridgestone Americas Fund. Aiken PSR, we put a 2 megawatt facility there. We're producing, 3.3 million kilowatts of electricity annually, and reducing our emissions at that facility by 1,300 tons per year of CO2. You can see the size of this. Right now, obviously, we know that panel size is still an issue to make this happen, and it also requires capital. But there's other ways that I want to talk about that we're looking at and we're doing going forward here at Bridgestone as well. Other projects, nitrogen curing. This is an example. We're using hot water typically to cure tire. We switched over to nitrogen, much more efficient, have initial investment, much good payback, but again, 15,000 metric tons saved of CO2 by just converting from hot water over to nitrogen. And finally, on this side, we also operate some biomass boilers in Costa Rica, and the number that we're seeing is about 55% CO2 savings at that facility from biomass investments there. So just to quickly kind of take you through, on what the theory is and the thoughts are about the best way to reduce your Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. And I'll get to that in a little bit here for those that maybe are not as familiar. But we kind of look at our levers and say, how do we want to do this? And we developed a hierarchy. Energy, efficiency, and conservation is at our top. That's what we want to do. We want to be efficient in everything that we do, utilizing projects internally to make things happen. Energy projects, renewable energy projects. As an example, what we did in Aiken with the 2 megawatt solar facility. That would be number 2. The second would be looking at now, or the third, excuse me, is looking at our power purchase agreements and virtual power purchase agreements. And really what that is, that's us purchasing green power through electricity agreements. So there's a lot of contractual base. Is it local? Could it be somewhere far? That's why it's virtual, depending on the regulatory state, if it's deregulated or not. And then lastly would be RECs, just buying credits to offset, which is obviously a fine thing to do, but not something that we want to do. We're supplement with that. So quickly getting into a quick review on the CO2 emissions for us is it's Scope 1, and Scope 2, and Scope 3. For those that are familiar with this, and some are not familiar with this. But Scope 1 is really the fuel combusted at our facilities, your company vehicles, emissions from our operations. It's the burn, if you will. Scope 2 is the buy. It's really that purchased electricity, purchased steam, what we do, and these are those contracts that we're working at. Scope 2 up front is going to be a little easier for us because we can get into contracts, but Scope 1 gets more challenging. And then Scope 3 is everything upstream and downstream. This is logistics, this is our supply chain, this is end-of-life tires. This is the life cycle of the tire as well being used. So one of the things that I'll also talk about a little bit is our renewable energy certificates. They're issued by megawatt per hour, and we can basically apply them to offset our Scope 2 emissions. Right now, we have I think a very solid strategy on our Scope 1 and Scope 2 to get to the 50% reduction, the science-based target of well below 2 degrees. And the Scope 3 gets a little more challenging, and it has a very large supplier impact downstream and upstream as well. Not so much with the suppliers, but there's 15 categories that we're currently reviewing to make those work for us. So where are we at? So the goal setting, this is just kind of an example. The red being Scope 1, the green being Scope 2. Scope 2 for us to get to our 50%, that dotted line represents our path, right, to 2050. Based on a 2-degree scenario. There could be changes where we move to the 1.5-degree scenario, which is going to hockey stick that and probably get us there by 2037. But right now, our path, as communicated, is 50% by 2030. And as you can see, the majority of our reductions will come from the Scope 2, which is that buy, which is our either VPPAs or executing RECs or whatever we're going to do to make sure we get there. Scope 1, as you can see, is primarily from our natural gas-fired boilers at the facility. Okay. Ultimate goal, carbon neutrality 2050. This is something that's just really interesting as we look at this, and you know, you've got to strategize on how you're going to get there. And for us, when you look at the three pieces here, capital, power purchase agreements, and REC purchase, we have pros and cons. We laid this out. We said, you know, capital is intensive, maintenance, labor costs, especially if you're going to put in a system on your facility, offsets. Power purchase agreements, they're really right there in the middle. I think they're very favorable. We can complete the offsets of Scope 2, as you saw. Very little, you know, no maintenance, no capital, lower cost than other options, but there are lengthy contracts. So you could get in a contract very early on, and then you could find that you could have gotten it in cheaper 5 years from now. But with 5 to 20-year contracts, you are locked in. And then there's some accounting challenges as well. And REC purchase is something that, for us, we can offset. You can do a little bit of mix of both. But I guess the thing is you've really got to understand what your strategy is going to be and how you're going to get there, and laying out what's best for you as the business and to make sure that we reduce CO2 to improve the environment, I think is a great step. So outside of the CO2 movement, we also are still working and progressing towards zero waste at our facilities. We're continuously looking for sustainable beneficial uses, and what we've coined is really beneficial next use of our products to keep that circularity approach. Our manufacturing plants typically achieve over 90% recycling. Actually, it's more than just recycling, it's beneficial next use. It could be tire-derived fuel, it could be actual recycling, but we do get down into the weeds, and we can break each one of those segments up, because we want to get to zero waste to landfill. And we have several facilities each year that are zero waste to landfill, and we have numerous facilities that operate 90%, 95% plus zero waste to landfill as well, because it's not just about shipping it off and using it for waste to energy. You also have to look at that footprint that makes you get to there. And we can easily say yes by throwing money at it that you're getting zero waste to landfill, but we want to do it very responsible and make sure that it's the most appropriate for the business, and we're not creating more CO2 from trucking just to say that we're zero waste to landfill. So there's a lot of thought that goes into that. Delta Energy, here's another area that we look at for our end-of-life tire business. This is a depolymerization technology. It converts our end-of-life tires into raw materials, specifically carbon black and other solvents that we can use back into our process again. I talked a little bit about our mobility solutions, and this is also another area that we focus on very hard. We have an Enlighten tire project that really helps the weight of the tire and helps what we call rolling resistance. And there's something that you may have seen before, but it's called the rolling resistance coefficient. And this is all about the weight of the tire and how it affects fuel economy for the vehicles. Obviously, things are going to change as we move into electric vehicles, but rolling resistance is still critical to help improve mileage. Another big one for us is retreading as in fleet solutions. Retreading uses 1/3 of the raw materials needed to make new tires. Substantial reductions in emissions, substantial contribution to circular economy. So retreading for us is an unbelievable improvement to the standard just a regular tire. The retread process is very, very large, and we are one of the largest retreaders in the world. Recovered carbon black, I talked a little bit about that. It's very important because we can take tires and actually put product back in. It's all part of that circular economy approach, that CE that we've talked about. Also, alternative sourcing of raw materials. Instead of using typical rubber farms, we are leading right now in Waiuli, which is a natural rubber that's not from a rubber tree, but another product that we have. And you're going to start seeing more and more coming from Bridgestone on the use of Waiuli in our products. And then lastly, web fleet solutions, overall efficiencies. It's really that digital fleet movement that helps those that are on the roads getting better fuel economy, making better choices from digitization and from mobility solutions to help reduction in fuel and also in CO2. So a lot happening in those areas as well. Another thing that I want to talk a bit more about on biodiversity, which is also a critical component to us as part of our mission. We've donated over 15,700 acres of land here in the state of Tennessee. I think those that are familiar with the Bridgestone Firestone Centennial Wilderness, that was a 10,000 acre gift back in, I think, the 2012, 2008 time frame. I'm not exactly sure. But then in 2018, we gifted another 6,000 acres to the Nature Conservancy. And this is what's great about it, because this is the conservation piece, right? There's the renewable piece and there's the conservation piece. And this is something that we're always looking to also continue, because you don't have to offset when you have this that's already continuously there. So these were gifted donations that Bridgestone is very, very proud of. Certified wildlife habitat is another sustainable activity that we're involved with. Since the 90s we've been doing this, and we're managing right now about 3,100 acres of managed wildlife habitat across what we call Bridgestone Americas. And we continue to do that. We're running about 8 certified wildlife habitat sites as well within the company. So another one here in Tennessee that we'd like to talk about is out of our Warren County facility, or what we call the Bridgestone Environmental Education Classroom Habitat, or our beach. This is the outreach, right? This is bringing people in to talk about the environment. This is all part of that biodiversity effort, where students pre-K up to 5th grade, we put over 33,000 students through this the program. 100,000+ hours of learning, and it's also a great avenue for our teammates to get involved with as well. So they're constantly doing things at the beach facility in Warren County. And finally, what's real important to us is the end-of-life tire. I mean, if you ever really talk about tires, what are the real issues? And we always think about waste tires and the end-of-life tires, used tires. What's going on with that? So Bridgestone has the Tires Forward program, where it's really the goal is a waste-free tire industry. Okay, so we've saved more than 243,000 tires across the country from landfills. All of our Firestone Direct facilities, that's the goal, 100%. And also we sponsor community events where we'll go out, and you can see some pictures there of those on the river cleaning up tires that come out, and we also put them through the Tires Forward program to make sure that all tires stay out of the landfill. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to share our sustainability efforts. Again, for us, it's all about supporting our environmental mission and keeping the course. And it's also, like I said at the very beginning, I think the teamwork and what we're all trying to do here is together, share some experiences, share the things that we're going to do, because as we continue to make the commitments, to reduce CO2, waste operations, contribute to more circularity, it's really going to be a lot of lessons sharing amongst us. So with that said, I appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Nick, for that update, and thanks for what you do. I mean, clearly, and I wanted to add, I've actually been to the beach, you know, quote unquote, and it's just an amazing facility where in a place that needs it, you know, that rural county. It's just such an asset to the students there. Where they can get some extra learning about all the different science and then, you know, add in a little bit of the sustainability and stuff, and just go ahead and start that at a young age. So I did have some questions come in for you guys. So what I wanted to do is ask those, and feel free to tag team them if you will. I had one. We'll go ahead and I'll just, Nick, since you just got done speaking, this one was for you. It says, you mentioned, and you could have already answered this, so disregard, but it says you mentioned a 40% recycled content goal for products. Was that related to the use of recycled material feedstock for manufacturing of tires?
Yeah, it's part in there. So the 40% has to look into whatever it is. So the carbon black could be. So we measure, and we're currently working on even closer right now some projects on the amount of recycled material, working with suppliers that goes into our material, our scope 3 emissions. Yes, that's what we're trying to do, is increase the amount of recyclable material so we don't have to put as much standard natural resources in our product. So that is what we're looking to do. Absolutely.
Awesome. So here's a question for Courtney. It says, for a small scale manufacturer, where would you recommend they start if they are interested in exploring renewable energy options or reducing on-site energy consumption?
That is a really great question. The Tennessee Advanced Energy Business Council is here for you as a resource. I would highly recommend attending our annual meeting to just get connected with some of our experts and our members. That will be virtual on March 29th, and you can find more information on our website, tnadvancedenergy.com. So certainly starting out with one of our events and just learning and networking. A lot of our members can offer various kinds of turnkey services. Also, with TVA's flexibility option, going to your local power company is now also a very good option as well. If you are looking for a larger scale solar installation or something of that nature, that is always a good place to start. But again, attending one of our events and starting to network, seeing what kinds of companies exist, I'm always available to chat and talk with you as well. And, you know, those would be good places to start.
Yeah, thanks. And I went ahead and put in the chat box your website, so that you know, that will be a good little a link to use and start for whoever asked that question. Here's another question, I guess, for you, Courtney. It says, I guess somebody's actually already been on the website. It says, would you recommend looking at the Tennessee Advanced Energy Economic Impact Report? Could that help us out?
I don't know if that will help out. The Economic Impact Report has, that's economic impact related data. So it's number of employees, it's number of businesses, it's NACE codes, it's broken down by county and MSA. So that's not necessarily going to be a directory for you. I will share my contact info in the chat box, and I am more than willing to talk to this person one-on-one to see if there might be something specific that we can help them with. But again, our membership, again, is a great resource. Attending our annual meeting, which is virtual on March 29th, and also contacting your local power company is also good places to start.
Thank you. Let's see, here's another one. It says, let's see here. I think this one might be for Nick. It says, what do you think is your biggest benefit from being a part of TAEBC?
I think just some of those questions that Courtney, that's a good question on how we interlink with them. To me, as I even said at the very beginning, it's so difficult to do this alone. You've really got to understand and develop your own individual strategies. It's very interesting, I think, company by company on how we're doing this. You know, it's not a sales pitch. It's we've all made commitments to get there, and it's not who gets there first, but I think it's how we get there effectively. So, you know, by working with them, I think it opens up some other opportunities that we can continue to understand what there's available for us to work with it. Because, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, maybe the best thing to do is put solar on your property. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's you don't want to actually own it, because then you have to maintain it. You have to have the capital. There's opportunities to get involved with other teams that we can get through the council, and you know, for that learning piece. So I think that's really it. I think the connection to others that can help us get there is probably one of the biggest benefits.
Yeah, and Nick, I'll add to that too with just some personal anecdotes of folks who attended our events either in person or virtual. And for example, I can remember one of the first times we did an Energy Mentor Network showcase with some of these startup companies. We had the more mature and established companies go up to a couple of our presenters and say, you know, we've been trying to figure out how to solve that, and you've done more work on that than I think we have. We should start talking. Yeah. So, you know, it's connections like that. People have found service providers, and just simply sharing success stories and good news has helped other members inform how they are going to approach sustainability. So all of those things we've seen as real benefits to our members.
Yeah, good point.
All right, let me see here. It says, nerdy question here, is TAEBC aware of any efforts to construct AD systems in Tennessee to produce RNG? And that's like an AD system is anaerobic digestion. So is TAEBC aware of any efforts to construct anaerobic digestive systems in Tennessee to produce RNG?
I am not. I know that there are companies that are located in Tennessee that actually engineer those kinds of facilities, but I am not aware right now of any that are in the works in the state. I could be wrong, but that is my knowledge as of right now.
Okay. Let's see here. So everyone, Courtney has put her email and phone number in the chat, so make sure to jot that down if you have any questions, or if one of your questions maybe needs a little bit more explanation to get the answer that you'd like out of it. So I'm not seeing any more questions. If you have those, send those to me. And if later today when you're having dinner and you think about the presentation and you're like, oh, I should ask this question, feel free to reach out to Courtney. She has her information in the chat, or feel free to reach out to me. My email is caleb.powell@tn.gov, and I'll put that in the chat box as well. And then I can work on getting those built out, or those questions asked, those answers found, and then I can build that into the follow-up email that I send out later on this week for the webinar. I'd like to go ahead and thank our speakers again for taking the time to inform us on this important topic. I think that there's such benefit in collaboration, and this is sort of, a star collaboration that you're seeing right here, a golden star, if you will. And we like to, here at the Tennessee Green Star Partnership Program, that's really like sort of one of our biggest benefits is being around your peers, sort of talking about solutions and figuring out those problems, knowing that you're not alone with some of the problems that you've got. And so, yeah, I would say please reach out to Advanced Energy, and I'm sure that Nick would also be happy to sort of talk about some of the stuff that the hurdles that he's overcame when it comes to being the sustainable leader that Bridgestone is. Also, I'd like to thank everyone that registered and was a part of the webinar audience. Like was mentioned at the very beginning, this is the first of 4 of our pollution prevention webinars that is going to be happening this year. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for registration links and webinar invitations for those. We've got some really good webinars coming up each quarter. This webinar is recorded, and the recording will be on our YouTube channel, will be sent out in the follow-up email to you guys, and will also be on our website. But like I said, if you have any further questions, I'll go ahead and put my email into the chat box so you have that. Feel free to send me an email, ask me any type of questions that you might have. And then, like I said, a follow-up email will either be sent out later this week or early next week with all of the information that we talked about. So thanks again, and everybody have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.